Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kill the Week. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon, sitting with
Jill,
my other host, and we're here with two lovely guests who have been friends of ours for the last couple of years who run an awesome YouTube channel. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk about their channel for a brief moment. You guys?
So we are Rayanimator Reviews. I'm Rayanne, and this is Joey. And we picked the log truck kill, the whole scene from Final Destination 2. And I feel like this definitely popped into my mind just because of how impactful it is on real life, as well as just kind of scarring everyone immediately when they watched it. So
Yeah.
it's not just one specific kill, it's just that log truck just set everything horribly into motion.
It literally scarred an entire generation where people won't even drive behind log trucks now. And it's like I couldn't think of a more impactful horror kill that affected real life than this scene. It was just from beginning to end, it was like you didn't know when it was going to end. It just kept everything kept happening. And it was one of those, and that's a whole franchise that we kind of like grew up with. I remember watching all the Final Destination movies from like beginning to end and being like, this is just nuts.
I feel like this is kind of like what Jaws did to swimming in the ocean. This movie ruined driving on the highway.
Yeah, especially in like more like rural areas, and especially since both sets of us are from Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of those woody type of areas in PA, so you'll get a lot of that. And that was also like one of my notes that Joey said that you just didn't know when it was going to end. Like one of my notes for it was it just kept going and going and going.
What the Steve?
Yeah, that whole scene. It was
What
just
was your reaction to the entire movie?
Yeah.
It just kept going.
Yeah. So how you guys said you grew up with this franchise, I did not. I remember seeing the first one years ago, and then I watched this one for the first time this morning before jumping on this call. And like I knew the kill. Everyone knows this kill. It's a very famous kill. It's a great kill. But going into it and then realizing it's the very beginning of the movie, and I'm just like, oh God, it's like, okay, the kill's going and going and going. That's fine. And then the movie just kept going and going and going. Just like, what the fuck is going on?
Absolutely. And it's only like a little over 2 minutes, all the action, but it feels like it's 20. Just the first thing happens and you're horrified and it's gruesome, and then it just keeps like smacking you in the face as you're watching it, like, oh, you thought that was bad, like just wait for this. Oh, you had a fear of this, we're just gonna work that into here. Like,
I feel like
and then you think it's over, and then it's like the flaming truck just comes.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, here's one.
Yep.
out of nowhere, you're like, oh, maybe she'll. Oh no, there's that truck.
it's like
She's
it's
just
like
hanging upside down. No, maybe there's a flying truck that's going to take her out next. But we didn't get to see that death for her, which I kind of wish we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's like
everything else, but we didn't show that. Like, why did we stop there?
it's like somebody took a poll of people with anxiety, like, what are you afraid of? What makes you anxious? And they're like, cool. Let's put that in the movie. Let's put that in the movie. And then they just made a whole franchise.
Like the dentist isn't bad enough, but something has to choke you while you're at the dentist.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor child's just mouth opened. I'm like, okay, that's not enough. The dentist can't just, be crazy, but it has to be a choking hazard.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, here's the beauty about the kill that you guys picked. It impacts the entire movie. So, like, talking about the entire movie and talking about all the other deaths kind of go along with this one massive kill, because everyone is somewhat killed in the same way that they die in that car crash.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dentist kid was like Aquafina water bottle, like they couldn't hit the brake button because the fucking water bottle or brake button, the brake car brake pad. Thank you. I know cars, they go vroom, but
same.
the Aquafina bottle, and then he dies at the fucking dentist.
It was kind of like Mac and Me, where it was like product placement. If we saw one more Mac and Apple, and
oh my God, yeah.
which is really funny because Mac's from Pennsylvania. So you see like Mac trucks everywhere, like, oh hey, look, that's like a Mac truck, and then it's like that happens and you're like, those trucks are in my neighborhood.
They're
Like,
literally
those trucks are
the
in my
place is
area.
like 20 minutes from here.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and then you see a Mack truck pull in a bunch of logs. You're like, nope, exit off the
Done.
highway. I
I've
will take the
been-
long way.
I've been late to work because I didn't want to get around this stupid truck. I'm an adult. I have an adult job. I got to work. I walked up to my manager and I said, "Have you seen Final Destination 2?" She's like, "Yeah." And I said, "So I'm late." She's like, "Were you stuck behind a log truck?" I totally get it. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're fine.
We
It's
have
cool.
a shared trauma from this movie that we're like, nope, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy too, because like everything in that movie, everything leading up to the crashes, like like what Joey was saying, like, oh, you have anxiety, like, we're gonna have this, we're gonna write this down. Like, one of my notes when I was watching it was like the fucking cop driving with a coffee cup with no lid. That gave me anxiety.
Yeah,
That
that
right there.
itself.
Well, I
Why?
Who does that?
How movies kind of hit different parts or for different generations to watch the same movie. So that hits us now. We wouldn't have cared about that when we were kids because
No,
we weren't
true.
drinking coffee. But now we're like, oh yeah, we've done that. We drink. You usually
Like,
I mean, yesterday drinking. You had hot coffee,
but it
in
had a
your lap.
lid. But it had a
Yeah,
lid.
but it was in between your legs while you were driving.
But it had a lid. That's
You
the
don't have
difference.
cup
God.
holders? Do you not have cup holders?
We did, and
So-
he's like, "No, I'm drinking it."
Well,
it's
okay,
fine."
so
Like,
my mug is very similar to this, where it's kind of like a tankard, so it doesn't fit right in the cup holder. So I kind of
it's
like,
much safer.
I
to
had it
hold
like in my legs and I'm driving. I'm like, oh yeah, this is fine. But it had a lid versus this dude just having this fucking Starbucks
Yeah.
with no lid on
the
it.
sloshing.
They-
cup.
Who does that?
I don't understand why he didn't have a lid, because like it's not like you're adding like sugar and cream to your coffee. The
No.
place you get it from will do that. Where is your lid?
You're on the highway.
Well, I think
Like,
he
you're
was
already in motion to
Well,
where
I
you need
think
to
he
go.
was he already in motion or was he like stationary?
No,
for
he was
watching?
he was on the thing because he was watching the truck. He saw the chain
Ah.
break on the truck, and then his coffee spilled because it didn't have a fucking lid.
Yeah.
So then he couldn't stop the truck.
Well, I meant the first time, like, well, the second time when it didn't happen.
Oh, when it didn't happen, no, he was in motion. They were in line
Okay,
waiting.
so no,
to get
it's
on
not
the
like he
highway.
was like stopped trying to wait to catch people, and he was just sitting there casually.
Yeah, but while
That's what really bothers you. The whole movie is great, but the coffee cup.
Oh,
is
yeah,
really
because
piss you off.
fuck these people, they all deserve to die.
That's what you get for not putting a lid on your coffee.
Exactly, it's his
Yeah.
fault. But although it's the old bait and switch because it didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's kind of like I get a lot of intrusive thoughts. Like, if I don't put a lid on my coffee, I'm gonna kill everyone around me. If I don't secure things in my car, it's gonna roll under my brake pedal. And I'm sure I had like intrusive thoughts like this before the movie, but it just kind of like fueled it even harder that I'm like, okay, everything's set. No log trucks. We're gonna be okay. I'm going on the highway. Like,
I mean, it's not even just a highway. Like the pigeons could get you.
Fucking
oh,
God.
the pigeon part was so
Pigeons
good.
and then this little shit just
Oh,
running,
like,
and
Oh
he
my
got what he
fucking
got.
God.
It's like he deserved it.
Fuck that
That
kid.
that kid was kind of a little bastard, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tim,
I liked Creeper in the elevator though, sniffing hair. That was completely unnecessary.
yeah,
Completely unnecessary for nothing. Just sniffing hair.
I kind of
With his
wonder.
little mannequin.
I wonder if that was like a little tribute to like Maniac, because like I got Maniac vibes.
Oh
from
yeah.
with, like, the box of body parts.
Yeah,
of, like,
but
the
one
hands
one
and all.
thing did not have to connect to the
No,
other
it did not
at all.
No.
But it was the same like the chick with flashing her boobs in the very beginning scene.
Oh, we needed
For-
that.
Yeah, we need
Mhm.
boobs.
That got our attention.
Yeah, but it's just this was helpful.
We need that. It's a horror. Oh, they just remember they're making a horror movie.
Yeah, and they're probably throwing things out there like for you to start thinking like, oh, well, maybe this guy has some more connection to it because he's sniffing hair. Like, we can't just accept that he's kind of a creep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just another anxiety thing. You got to worry about creepers in the elevator sniffing your hair.
You do
Exactly.
though. You do.
I will
do.
say though, her death in the elevator, they did that death way better in the first Resident Evil movie. I thought it was done way better in the first Resident Evil.
Yes.
When homie was like stuck in the side. But we're talking about the log kill. But like I said, it transfers to everything, and I wish he would have had a different way than the elevator.
Yeah.
But to go into like some technical aspects of this, like throughout the entire movie, the kill scenes are all great. That log sequence, like you said, was like 2 minutes, but it felt like forever. That's great filmmaking. and that goes to one of my notes here is that it was directed by David R. Ellis, which is he did Snakes on a Plane, and kind of says a lot that he did Snakes.
I had no idea that was the same person. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
so he did that, and then he did the 2009 cut of Final Destination. I don't know if that was a remake or like reboot of the franchise. I didn't see it, but he also directed that. But I think the reason why that truck kill sequence was done very well, and a lot of the kill sequences were done very well, is because this guy, excuse me, is notorious. No, not notorious. He's known for being a second unit director. So, with for people unfamiliar about second unit in films, they're the guys that are getting close-ups of things. So, like when you see in a movie and someone's like hand is like a close-up dialing a phone, that's second unit getting that stuff. While main unit, first unit is getting the like principal photography, like the close-ups and all the stuff like that. So he's very well. He would be the guy recording like the car crashes and stuff like that the main unit's not getting while they're dealing with actors. So he did second unit directing on movies like The Matrix Reloaded, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Waterworld. He did that movie Rockstar with
Mark Wahlberg
and stuff like that. So him doing little vignettes like that, the vignette kills and how good they were, is just an attest to show that he knows how to work those scenes. And
that makes so much sense.
Brandon did so much research.
We're just like,
I just rewatched the scene and was like, oh god. I mean, I think the thing I really love about this scene is that, like you said, it's at the beginning of the movie, so it just smacks you in the face right out of the gate. But also the uniqueness of this scene is that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like it goes through this whole thing, and then all of a sudden it's like,
blink,
well,
it happened, but it happened to other people. So like they got saved, but then you still see the crash. So then it's just another 10 people that died. We don't care. We don't have to see how they died.
No. They don't even matter because then she does the "That's So Raven" thing, where she's like, and then it comes back to the like. That's all I could think of during.
She's like, "What did you see? What did you see?" I'm like, she has another face. Like this is
like,
not
like that's all I could think of every time. Like in this entire franchise, every time somebody has that like fruition, and then it comes back to present time, all I can think of is "That's So Raven," and I don't know why.
Well, the way to really movie. That's all I've ever seen from now on.
Does have a premonition? Is that a thing?
I mean, not just that, but I think any movie that has a premonition, they all have that glazed over, like far off, stupid look.
Exactly.
Now I'm gonna be looking at anyone that I see dissociating and be like, "What's happening? What do you know,
Raven? What do you see?"
Yeah.
I mean, because that was like the first one. I think
because she saw the plane.
It was the dude. It was Casper who saw.
Casper.
Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
He saw the plane, and then they got off the plane, and like that's a great like that's a great secondary scene in the first one when they're all in the lobby and they're arguing and blah blah blah. And if you pay attention in the background, you see the plane explode.
Yeah.
Like you see it in the sky and then you see it explode and they're still arguing and you're like, how do they not know that? And then all the glass shatters because the shockwave. And it's like, oh my god.
That's where the first movie did it well, but the second movie, the fucking signs were so bad. Like you're driving
Highway to Hell?
Highway to Hell, the fucking bus thing chanting pile up, like no football team is shouting pile up.
I know. I've played football for most of my childhood, and I don't ever remember chanting pile up.
You just scream pile up?
I'm not a sports guy, and even I know that shit.
Did you get they wanted you to get the idea.
But it was just
did you get it? Something's gonna happen.
So fucking bad. Every little inch, because like it felt like a parody. Like I thought I was watching like a scary movie parody.
It felt very tongue-in-cheek, all the little things they did.
Yeah.
Question: if you guys are in the car and Highway to Hell comes on, do you leave it on? I never do.
No. I mean,
I never thought about it. I guess I would have like, oh, okay, I'm going with it. But now the anxiety. And now I'm anxious.
Like,
I forgot
I'm-
about that song.
I'm sorry I planted that
Yeah.
for you.
I love AC/DC. I have them on my Spotify playlist.
So,
Not that song.
Like the thing for me is like I didn't know that was in the movie because I never saw this movie until now. So, and when I first watched the clip, it didn't. So it started with like the dude yelling about the ozone out the car, which also had nothing to fucking do with anything else. Like, you ever hear
No.
about the ozone? Who are you
and there's
yelling
no
at?
interaction. It
Like,
was the one car.
It
with
was the kid
admission.
like playing drums with the Aquafina bottle. Like, what the fuck does that? have to
No,
do
it was
with
the
anything?
car with the admission.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, it was just
Oh.
had like smog coming out of the back. But there was no
somebody-
confrontation. That would have
Coal
made
rolling truck.
he screamed and then they got out and started a fight. Like that would have made sense. But
God,
instead you just drove past with little cokehead one car and
God, yeah. Since we're
at least
on,
they had a range of people.
yeah. Since we're on the idea of not the idea, but we're talking about like the little notes of things. So one of the things that I saw while I was doing the research for it, I didn't see it in the movie because I didn't look at it. But there's a bumper sticker that says road trip on it, and the T is covered, so it reads road rip, hinting at the disaster.
Oh,
That close
Road
attention to this movie.
Yeah,
that is good.
that is
Yeah,
good.
because
I
I
love
always
that.
enjoy that with movies when there's things you go back to and catch
No, like
are
yes,
fun.
but
Like
like,
they-
little Easter eggs.
yeah.
They entertain themselves with that one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
You know the guy putting that bumper sticker on that car for the scenes, like
exactly.
like giggling to himself. It's some like dude in his 40s, like me, who just like dad joking the whole scene. Like, let's put this here. Okay, guys, I want you to chant pile up. Why? Just because, just do it.
Just do
You
it.
know.
No, why not? Why not?
One of the things that I saw too is that this scene was based on an actual highway accident.
Yes.
Stop it.
I didn't know that was a thing until reading this.
Yes, it was.
in, Ringgold, Georgia, 125 car pile up on I-75.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
2002. So it was the year before this movie came out.
Okay, so
So this could happen.
let me tell
Oh
you.
my god.
Let me tell you my personal
It's worse for
connection.
her, Brandon. You just got her even more.
Let me tell
I'm
you
just gonna
my
work from
personal
home.
connection to this because I've never told her this. When I was in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Gordon in 2002. Do you know where Fort Gordon is?
Ringgold?
Off of I-75 in Georgia.
Oh my god. So death is still looking for you?
we-
Great. This is great.
We responded to this accident. The Army did, because that's how bad it was. They pulled our heavy machinery off of Fort Gordon and Benning, I think, to help assist. The National Guard came out and asked the regular Army, like, yo, we need to borrow like some of your heavy machinery. We have to clean this off. It was like a state disaster. It was crazy. And I was in state when that happened. I think I was
insane.
I was home from Afghanistan. I just gotten home from Afghanistan like a couple of weeks before that. And I was just like, what the? And then when the movie came out, I was like, wait a second.
I'm gonna need to
I
take a
was there.
Xanax.
I was
after
there,
this.
man. It was
I
like
was
that
like,
day
wait.
watching
No,
the
I
movie.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Thank
So you're the one we have to
God.
worry about.
Thank God I didn't have a car. So I wasn't driving on that highway, but I would never be able to drive on that highway ever.
And
Well, I
then-
think the closest we had was like 95 blowing up.
Yeah,
We
a
could've
piece
been
of
on.
95 blew up.
Yeah.
Like, up here.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, like
Oh
a
my
car
God.
underneath of it exploded and it blew a chunk of
Yeah.
I-95.
That was when they reopened that, and our governor recognized the guy from the video, who the news interviewed, the most Philly guy ever, and he was like, yeah, I was sleeping, and then all of a sudden, like, and then he came to when they reopened the part of it, and the governor's like, oh, I remember you. I was just like, I remember you. You're from the video of the news. The fact that he even like pointed him out, I was dying.
Oh my god.
But
Yeah.
I'm
And
so
I'm-
upset that this is based off of true events.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
get over
That,
this.
and then another bit of research too, and a more recent thing in 2019. I'm just reading verbatim of what I typed. An accident happened where a man was driving behind a logging truck and
He
had
didn't watch the movie.
he didn't watch the movie. He had a near miss with death. So the driver rear-ended the logging truck and the logs were thrown through the windshield into the man's car. He had been bent down retrieving something, or else he would have been impaled by the log. The rescue workers had to cut through. So he wasn't paying
He's
attention.
bent over,
Bent over.
and the
He
log just
spilled
goes
his
like
coffee. That's what happened.
Yeah.
that. Oh my
Did he
god!
get like a splinter or
I
something?
don't know, but he had. So
I
it
hope he
says
got infected.
minor injuries, and they had to cut through 30 to 40 logs to get him out. So he must have spilled coffee, was bent down, hit the log truck, and all the fucking logs just like poured into his car.
It's nightmare fuel.
Jesus.
Oh
What
my
do you do
god.
after that? You
Um,
just find
You
Jesus.
find Christ. That's what
Yeah, you
happened.
Yeah. Oh my lord. I have fears of this happening. Like I don't do spiders, and there's always a spider in my car at the worst moment. Like I've driven off road into a field because we're like in Amish country because there's a spider just like and I freak out. Like that's gonna be me like seeing a spider and panicking and like hitting the gas and going into a logging truck.
That's how I
Listen,
feel.
Yeah.
her spider thing is so bad that I've come home from work and her and the cat are sitting on the bed, both looking in the same direction.
If you look away and they disappear, they know your face and they're coming after you.
And I was like,
what?
what?
Seeing a spider is losing sight of the spider.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I was like, what are you two doing? She's like, kill that spider. And I'm like, have you not moved since you saw it? She goes, nope. And like, but her and the cat are both following it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god.
If I was taller, I could have held the cat up, but like both of us are too short. So.
Our cat would make friends with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's that kind
so
of kitty.
cute.
Dobby.
Dobby eats spiders. It's disgusting.
Ugh. No, thank you.
It's funny. You see a spider or like a bug on the ground, and then you're like, and then you like look, and you're like, and then you look back at Dobby, and he's like, and I'm like, where'd that thing go? And he's like, I was like, oh my god.
Abigail just watch it go by. I'm like, could you do something?
No.
Maybe no.
She's like, no, fuck that thing.
Yeah, she just watches it go along. All right.
Get a job, cat.
So for the special effects side of this thing, which is kind of interesting, is definitely like one of the first signs of using digital blended with live action. So they had a whole crew of people that did the special effects stuff. It was called WCT Productions. That is no longer around. And they worked with a digital effect group called Digital Dimension. And they worked on movies like Freddy vs. Jason and Elf and Eurotrip. And they did a bunch of video games like Thief and Mortal Kombat 9 and X and stuff like that. So they worked together. They filmed, from what I've seen, I found this behind the scenes video that they put together. I guess it was like a special feature for the DVD. And it was just like a kind of like a montage of how they did the effects and everything. And it was like a blend of CG with practical, like they really filmed all the car crashes, but put actors behind green screen stuff. Like when she gets like thrown out of the way from the cop saving her before the truck gets plowed. They did that with like CG and green screen. They really threw a log through the car to get that effect, and stuff like that. And then they really, oh god, where the hell was it? They really did the car flips, but I will say though, the CG doesn't kind of hold up to this time.
Yeah,
kind of iffy. But the fucking I'm saying all this. I want to get to my favorite reaction to this kill was the fucking dummies in the cars. When they flip, you just see the arm fly out of the window and you see the dummy head in the fucking sunroof.
With the hair. Yeah.
I didn't notice it until you pointed it out. I was just watching everything exploding and then you're like,
these motherfuckers didn't even try. They didn't even try to hide anything. They're like, well, we need bodies in there. Otherwise people would be like, oh, there's no bodies in the car. It's like, no, we see the bodies and we see that it is just a fucking dummy in a blonde wig.
Yeah. That blonde hair flying out of the sunroof like kind of took me out of it. Yes. And I did notice it more. Like I rewatched just that scene this morning and I was like, oh, come on. Because then you see the girl like all, crumpled up in the car behind her. And it's like, well, you were like ejected from the car. How are you still alive? Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
I was just, oh man, like I was like, oh, this isn't a horror movie, this is a fucking comedy. Like this is gold right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like also speaking of like video game stuff, like with Digital Dimension, the one actor, I'm blanking on his name, but the African American actor who was driving the motorcycle is the voice of Kratos from God of War. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really fun little Easter egg to throw. Well, not a little fun little nitpick.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
I feel like even though like the scene with the guy in the car when like the whole top of the car is gone, but he's on fire, even though the flames look like pretty terrible, it's still like a really difficult scene to watch just because like she's watching it and he's looking at them screaming like help me, even though it's for a few seconds and then that other truck comes out of nowhere. You're just like, oh
yeah, it keeps hitting all those different fears. Now it's like burning alive and hearing him scream. It was intense, even though the scene wasn't great, like it wasn't the strongest effects, but it's still because they kind of did the burn better at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
like she opens the door and she explodes. Like they handled it better the second time, but hearing someone screaming like that definitely has an impact on you with her little watery ass eyes on the car.
Oh my god. The one thing I thought was cool too, like it was the contrast between the buckle up bit, because everyone in the main girl's car was not wearing a seatbelt. He was wearing a seatbelt and was stuck in the seatbelt, which is why he couldn't get out of the fire.
Don't get behind a truck and don't wear your seatbelt.
Oh no.
Exactly.
It was in the very beginning of the movie that the oil or whatever
it was like blood or
it
something.
looked like blood. It was like foreshadowing, but it was like the father saw it and he took way too long to call to tell her that something was like, I feel like they added that part in way too late.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't like yell to her.
No,
like, yeah, there's clearly blood in the driveway. I'll wait an hour.
Maybe he didn't see it as blood. Maybe he saw it as the oil because he said your car is leaking transmission.
Well, I don't think anyone would be like, "Oh, do you have a dead body in your truck?"
Yeah.
There's blood in the driveway.
This is a question that should be asked more frequently.
Yeah,
For
real.
Have a body in the trunk.
Do you happen to? Yeah. Do you have any weapons in the car? Do you have a body in the trunk that we should be aware of?
Any dummies?
Yeah,
we need to know what is up.
You never know. It's like, well, they didn't ask, so I didn't tell them.
And it's when you watch this scene, you have to remember this is like 20 years ago. You know.
Oh wow, like, it really is 20 years ago.
It is literally 20 years ago. Yeah. So it's like, that's something you have to take into effect. Like you have to consider that, But yeah, it's just, it's the exclamation point at the end with the truck. She's sitting there like thinking they're gonna survive. And then wham, here comes the truck.
I think that's partially why she was so upset, because she was in shock from just being in a car accident in general. And then you're just sitting there watching someone screaming for help and you feel bad. So she's reacting like that. And then I think once she saw the truck, she's like, oh, just kidding. Like, no, we're gone.
There's no, like, you see that her friend is still alive. You can't tell if the two other guys are alive or not. And you're like, okay, the worst of it's over. And then it's just that one final, like, extra hit. And I think that's what the whole movie was, just one extra little, like, oh, you think it's over? Here's one more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you start to get that little sliver of safety, it's like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that, because even like at the very end of the movie, when they realize like, oh, we figured out Death's plan and this and that, and then she opens the hospital door and then she's just taken out again. I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like you can't figure it out, I guess.
No, and here's the other thing too about this movie that and this franchise, like that gets me, and it got me thinking about it after watching this one. And I'm just like, you're dealing with something that is inevitable. You have to accept the fact that you are going to die. You cannot think that it's not going to happen to you because you're special and this and that.
But
and
he makes his own decisions, right?
Yes, he controls his own life.
He controls his own life.
But like the premise of this movie is like, but we need to stop death. We need to do this. And it's like, nah, y'all selfish. You're fucking up the balance of fate here. Like,
yeah.
Really, that's me for a loop with this.
Yeah, and it's the whole underlying tone of you can't cheat death. No matter how hard you try, you can't cheat death. And then having Tony Todd is just
icing on the cake.
Like that's just get this cruel bitch. Like
I wanted more Tony. I wanted more Tony in this movie.
Yes.
I think the later in the franchise you get more.
Yeah. Okay.
You've only watched this one out of the entire.
No, I saw the first one.
Okay.
I saw the first one
watch
years ago.
more of them because the deaths just get worse. There's like a guy who has his ass ripped out in a pool.
Yeah.
I remember that scene.
The laser eye surgery one.
I've had so many eye surgeries, and I always think about that when I have to do a laser procedure. And the one, because it's just you and the doctor. And I was like, did you ever see that one Final Destination? And he just like turned his head and he's like, I don't even want to look into that. That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
I know what those movies are.
Doing yourself everywhere you go. You're like, have you seen this? And I was behind this car, and we got to put you in a bubble.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like they like the one where the guy wins the lottery and he's got the Rolex and he tries to reach down into the garbage disposal while he's cooking. And I'm just like, this is just they get more and more ridiculous.
It was Saw before Saw. Was this?
Yeah.
Saw before Saw. It's that same mentality, and like
what we were talking about the other day of like Saw and Hostel in that time
era,
and
the torture porn era.
Yeah.
All about, and like a lot of these movies, a lot of franchises go through that. Like you see it with Halloween, Friday the 13th, where it becomes all about the kills and nothing else. Like when we were
that's where Terrifier doesn't pretend to be anything else.
True, yeah. Terrifier lives up to what it is.
Absolutely.
But, like I was saying to Jill, like when we were done watching it and like credits are rolling, and I was like, if I would have seen it when it came out like 20 years ago, if I would have saw it when I was like younger or even in like my teens, I would have loved this movie. I would have loved everything about this movie.
Think about it, I mean, this would be like hand in hand with like Butterfly Effect and
all
that
time.
Butterfly Effect.
Yeah, we were talking Butterfly Effect and Donnie Darko yesterday in the car.
And they're movies that I absolutely love because I seen them at that time.
Wait. How many of the Butterfly Effects have you seen?
I've only seen the first one. I don't want to surpass.
Don't see any Butterfly Effect other than the original. It's bad. Like it's so bad. It gets with pictures instead of like the notebooks. The guy looks at a picture, and the ending's so dumb. You're gonna be so disappointed. Let me save you from this, man. Nobody saved me.
The second,
I mean, it's tempting me to want to see it more.
The fact that
the more you're trying to protect us, I'm like, I must see this.
The fact that you go, the sequel to the Butterfly Effect, I'm like already out. Like I can't fucking do that.
Yeah. I feel like I was thinking about it. The Final Destination movies themselves seem to pull a lot of like urban legends too. Like, have you ever seen anyone that's like on the news for getting their watch stuck in a garbage disposal? But like that's a fear everyone has because you're like, that's gonna happen. You stick your hand down.
See, I will say this movie also did a really good job in misdirection. So like when his hand was in that garbage disposal, I'm like, it's obviously going to turn on. And then it just didn't turn on. Yeah. And everything, it turned into like the "this is fine" meme of fucking flames around.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yes, with the fire.
I think that's kind of what I liked about it, because it was like, you thought it was going to be one thing, because most of us watch these movies and you're like, I know what's coming, and then it kind of goes with what's expected, but then pushes it to another direction. So like, when you have to pay attention to everything, like when he spilled the pasta, like the spaghetti out the window, for no fucking reason, that it had to go out the window, and then it comes back around and he slips on
the pasta,
and it's just realizing like everything really did have an effect on one to the other. And you thought his hand was going to go in the garbage disposal. Okay, now he's going to be set on fire. Okay, now he's outside and he slips, and then it became like one thing after another.
Like,
you're like, this is
like I wanted that one dude to have like a cocaine-induced death, because he's just fucking snorting coke the entire time. Like he's driving the car and he's snorting coke and yelling at the cop after he drives by.
Well, Cokehead had a good ghost ship death.
He had the ghost ship death when the barbed wire slices him, which I thought was really
fun. My God, yes.
Oh yeah.
Really good scene from Ghost Ship, but
Ghost Ship.
That's the best scene.
It's the best scene, but that movie's fucking great.
It's fucking just as terrible as this.
But you see, I saw it when it first came out, so therefore I
did too, and I had to get it, and I hated it, and I loved it, and it's horrible.
I think that's like that's the thing about this, like this movie. There's been like 7 of them, right?
Oh, there's been more
I
than
think there's
that.
7, 8 of them.
There's been like
Like,
30 of them. at
There's
this
so
point.
many of them. But this, I feel, is like the most iconic like scene.
Yeah,
Because
oh
this
yeah.
is the one everybody goes back to.
Which
Like,
makes me laugh that it's in the second one and it wasn't in the first. Because I think when
uh-huh.
when wanted this kill, my brain just went to the first because it's so iconic that I just assumed it was the first
Because you know what it is?
and I forgot that it was the second.
This scene, and it's been proven with my research,
Oh my God.
is the most realistic. You
Uh-huh.
know, like it is the most realistic kill in probably the entire franchise, which is why everybody goes
What
back
year
to
did
it.
the first one come out? Because this one was what?
I think it's
2003.
So I guess
I think
you
the first one came out 2001.
I guess that might
that
I think
would
like
logically
really
make
I think
sense.
it's like I think it's like 2001 because I think I was a senior in high school. Yep, I'm that old.
I don't think anyone made the correlation between 9/11.
2000 was Final Destination.
But then no one made
2000. Okay.
how that might have felt too real after planes crashing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Can you imagine if that movie came out a year later?
Oh
no.
I don't think
You
they
sit there and
I
go
don't
like-
think they released that movie.
no,
If
it
it-
wouldn't have. They would have rewritten it and reshot it to be something
Uh-huh.
else. It would have turned into like a train or something like that. Like Amtrak
Well, then
would
it
have
became
blew
a
up.
roller coaster in one of the ones.
Yeah.
That's 3, I think. I think 3 is
I
the
think it
roller
was
coaster.
3, the roller coaster.
Which
So-
was the last time I ever went on a
I've
roller
only seen the
coaster.
first and second one.
We gotta watch. We gotta continue this.
So
horrific.
I guess
later.
that's the point of Final Destination, is to take something people enjoy and ruin that for it.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Especially
Well, it's the
trips. Trips
idea,
seem to be
like,
the common theme
yeah.
of 1 and 2, like road trip,
Well,
getting on a plane.
Yeah.
Clash trip, yeah, because they
Yeah.
were on a clash. They were on a clash trip in that one. Like, I really feel like what this franchise really did well was it took like urban legends, actual events, and built them into anxiety-inducing film, which
Yeah.
is like, I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose to get a reaction. I think they didn't know that they were going to scar an entire generation into not driving behind log trucks. But
True.
I think they're
you
so
know-
proud of themselves now.
Oh,
oh yeah,
Like it's,
you know that
that's
you
what,
know
like,
you know.
we grew up like, I mean, I grew up watching like Charmed, and one of my favorite demons was the one that would like kill you with your greatest fear. So like this is kind of that same universe where you're taking things we're afraid of and you're just showing you
Mhm.
either what you're afraid of or here's another thing to be afraid of that you didn't think of. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, you
It's
could
like-
be afraid of spiders all you want because we see the spider in the beginning of the of
Oh
part
yeah,
two, and then that
made,
has no
that made no fucking sense. I'm
well,
just
I
like
think, I think it was to make people uncomfortable. Be like, you are scared of spiders and you're anticipating
I
something to
guess.
happen. And then the
Good.
spider has no purpose.
yes.
But then instead, here's 20 other ways to die.
But no,
Like,
that-
you're
that-
scared of a spider, but here's other
that
ideas.
reminds me when they go and visit the chick from the first movie, and they're
in the psych asylum. Yeah,
the psych asylum. And for
Is that
one,
the
I don't want to get
character?
into it, but her name is fucking Clear, and it's terrible. Worst name ever is fucking Clear.
Hmm.
And like she's talking about the stuff, and it's like, oh, like, you got to look for the signs. Like, did something like ominous or creepy like happen around you? I'm like, bitch, you're trying to be insightful and like warn this person, and you're going about it in the most childish way ever. Like, did you feel all spooky and this and that? Like, get the fuck out of here.
What if you always feel spooky? I always feel a little spooky. Like I can't be on edge all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, too, like,
Well, I think it was the idea of saying trust your gut, that sometimes you just get this weird feeling, but she had to say it in a dumb way, but
and
it's
it's just like,
fine.
at what point, like, are you just gonna let death win? Like, you're gonna be on, like, we gotta look after each other. Everyone take shits
well,
and
she
do
handled
this.
that where she's like, is this living? And she's screaming. And like, well, you could
Ugh.
just go outside and die.
Yeah.
For real. At what point are you like? Do you stop living your life in fear and just accept your fate?
Yeah.
It's like,
At that point, yeah, like if
okay.
this is my option, either to live voluntarily in a psych ward or just go out and let creepy
Oh, yeah.
elevator man
and she
sift
went
my
in
hair
there
and die. Like,
voluntarily.
sure.
You're
I
on
want creepy hair man
Yeah.
to be the one that kills me.
Also, you're automatically
100%.
discredited, in my opinion, if you're going in there voluntarily, because that made me
Well,
think
she
of.
was scared. She wanted to be in a safe place.
But that made me think of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when he's all in there and Jack Nicholson finds out
everyone-
he's the only one there committed, and everyone else can come and go as they
That's
please.
a whole other thing. That's a whole deep sidetrack of being a prisoner of your own mind.
I guess I don't know. I think it's just because I didn't like that her name was Clear. That's what I'm.
It's a terrible
It's just-
name.
terrible.
I don't get that. But like I've seen over the years in my profession, people name their kids really dumb shit.
Same.
Fair.
There's I have somebody named a daughter Chlamydia, so
Oh.
that's a thing.
Beautiful name.
Yeah. Like
Oh, cool.
it was like KLAM EEDA. It was like
Her name was meant to be.
Chlamydia.
It's meant to be ketamine, but they got mixed up.
I'm
Still
stuck on Thackeray from Hocus Pocus.
oh god,
Thackeray.
Thackeray.
Thought it was-
Thackeray beings.
Thackeray. We all know what we're trying to say here. There's no reason it needs to be Thackeray. I don't care if it was even like historically correct. It just sounded dumb.
Yeah.
What do you call him as a nickname then? Thack? Like
Oh,
that sounds gross. This is my friend Thack.
It sounds like you're just, like people are just gonna assume you have a lisp.
It sounds like your cat in the middle of the night just like Thack. Like,
Yeah.
Thack.
But yeah, call somebody
fucked up
airball.
South Park character ever. Oh god.
I will say, for this whole franchise, I'd like to think that Death has a pretty good sense of humor. That he's like, oh, you're not going out this way. Well, let's make this way worse.
Yeah.
I just imagine it's kind of like just the dumber goes, well, I could have let you die with dignity, and now we're just gonna keep going. Like, you want to piss me off? Like, let's play a
Oh
game.
yeah, he had
It's just-
fun. Like Death had fun in this, at least in this movie. I saw
I
that.
would
he had
imagine
fun.
it's like a giant like D&D.
That's what
rolling
Yeah.
dice.
that's what
Oh, hey, here's a dumb way to die.
I would have loved to seen. Like, I would have loved to seen them put like some kind of like death figure in this movie, just in the background.
Oh yeah,
Or just like some type of like ominous skeleton with like a cloak, like skeleton hand with a cloak
Well,
draped
you
over
say
it,
that
like
at the beginning
like
with the tree branches.
like altering stuff.
Yeah.
There's skeleton in the tree branch, and you're like, really? This is
Like,
tree
I would
branches
have loved
do
to see
nothing
them
besides
like,
the-
like
Yeah.
when he's, when they're getting killed later after, when they don't get killed initially, when they're getting killed later, like something like I know they try to use like the breeze, like when the guy was in the kitchen, you saw the curtains flutter, like a breeze came through. Like, I would have loved to seen a little more like personification of death. Like, here's like you see like the tip of a sickle move something,
Wasn't
like
that
something
Tony
like that.
Todd though? Like, wasn't he kind of the?
He's considered death. Like, we call him like that. He was like the personification of death, but he was more like
he was
like kind of like
he was a
more
coroner.
He was like
just a coroner.
He was a coroner, but he was kind of more like a messenger, like kind of helping.
He
us.
was like he was the death expert.
Yeah.
But I
He was
mean,
like
Coroner.
we were like watching Supernatural. Like, I really like how they handle the figure of death, and how like the death would change based on who would kind of what you need death to be. So I think
Yeah.
The
so, like
original.
Fadina had to be this beautiful woman, and like that idea is kind of intriguing. Of like,
Yeah.
Oh, the Reaper. Yeah,
yeah,
the death, the horseman of the apocalypse death. In that, the original guy, I loved him so much.
Mhm.
He was so good in that. We are huge fans of that franchise.
watching Final Destination, I was like, I haven't watched it in so long, and I just remembered most of it. I was like, yep, this hasn't changed. This is
Yeah.
exactly like a little time capsule of everything
And-
that I remember.
And the beauty of it is they kill all those motherfuckers, so you don't really have to like them or grow attached to them.
Yeah, there's no point for like a really in-depth storyline to build characters because you're
You
like,
know how normally you want someone to survive. You're like, I want you to make it to the end. Then I'm like, you can all.
Didn't get attached to any of these people.
No,
I just come
did-
on.
did. No,
And like that's what I liked
I don't
about.
think I cared about any of them. I
See-
think like the cop was like the only one, maybe, or like the pregnant lady, because like
It's-
she didn't pay attention to shit.
No,
We realized that like she was like off to the side the whole time
well,
at
no,
the very
because
end, and she's
she
like, "Who are
wasn't-
you?"
Yeah, she wasn't a part of that group.
Well, they didn't realize that
But-
till the end that she
yeah.
wasn't actually supposed to die. She's just like hanging out on the side.
But the beauty of this movie and the beauty of a lot of horror movies, in my personal take and opinion, is they kill everyone that I don't like. They're killing these obnoxiously.
So who do you want to survive in a movie?
the normal fucking person, not the privileged fuck that talks down to everybody and this and that.
That's why
or-
we liked.
like I
Cabin-
don't feel bad for these people.
Well, that's why we liked like Cabin in the Woods, with like the stoner that made it to the end.
Yeah, I was.
yes.
I was
Like,
you, man. I get it.
Enjoyed it. He just pops up at the end and just like, oh hey, I found an elevator.
Yeah.
And fucking perfect.
But
I
so
loved
yeah,
it.
like-
They were the
Back
only
to an
two that I
elevator.
really like wanted them to survive. 'Cause
Yeah,
this
they're
poor
great.
this poor chick just she made it to the end.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
even
Talk
though-
about
but we work with what we have.
Talk
Yeah.
about the most unnecessary cameo in a movie. Is Sigourney Weaver.
It's perfect though.
Oh god,
Why
will-
Sigourney Weaver?
It was so unnecessarily perfect. You hear
Yeah.
that voice and you're like, wait a
I
minute,
like
I know
Queen.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But yeah, like
so
Final
bad.
Destination. It's
I
like
want to dress up as the ballerina.
that'll be good.
Like,
I always wanted to do
But
that.
but yeah, with
like,
this
why is Ripley there?
privileged kids, like I'm gonna go to Daytona, Florida, and this and that, and like
Mhm.
road trip with everyone, and it's like, God,
Are you mad
I
that people
hate
have
you.
friends?
No, I just hate people, and like
Just-
just wanted them to demise so hard. The only other dude that I like out of the characters in the movie, I didn't mind the cop. I like
He
the
was
the
good.
Coke dude. I thought was fine because he was a good comic
was funny.
relief. But I
Mhm.
really liked the teacher, the black guy. I thought he was great because he was so down to earth, realistic about everything, and that's what I liked
Yeah.
about him. And I love that, his death. He could have had a better death, like in general, but like I did like how he died in the car crash when he just like slams into the log and then
The bike.
crushes him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted more of that because like you couldn't tell that it was him because he had his helmet on the whole time. And like I think the only thing that they hinted at was like the keys because they kept going back to his keys with the fucking pool cue on it.
Mhm.
But I wanted,
But then I would have rather that had been how he died.
well, it almost was how he died because I like hit the kayak that almost decapitates him and shit. But no, like I liked him, but I feel like everyone else I feel like didn't deserve that. Didn't deserve to live.
And what did you think about how they connected him to the first movie? Remember, he was supposed to be the teacher. He was supposed to they connected him to the school in the first to the high school in the first movie
Yeah, they
where
all
he
had
was
like
supposed
the
to.
cokehead saw the dude get crushed by the sign, and I was just like,
I feel like all of
Yeah.
that came in. It makes sense that it came in late at the end where they all started explaining those other layers, but I feel like by that point there was so much to wrap your head around that I felt like it was too much information to then give that late in the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If they
because
had that conversation earlier, could have had more impact. By the end, you're like, my brain's already full. Like there's already so much to keep track of.
like
It's hard.
and I'm wondering, like, is this supposed to tell us that the events from the first movie led us to the events in this movie?
Yeah, I think that
Like,
that's
this
how I
is still
took it.
death cleaning stuff up from what
Yeah.
should have happened.
It felt like a last minute writer's note that like the execs were like, oh, this is great, but we need to connect it to the thing. Like,
Well, I mean, they connected it to enough. Well, they kept shoving it in of like the anniversary and showing the photos and
yeah.
connecting it, but they
And
had
Tony
like,
Todd,
yeah, they had to keep
you know,
making final like connection. I thought even just having the one chick survive and just saying my friends,
No,
like
that-
actually they weren't your friends. You hated them from what I remember in the first one. You didn't actually talk to anyone. You just got off the plane because you were nosy.
Well,
And
yeah, I
is
feel like that
that-
would have been more than enough, but to have them be directly connected, I think was too much of a reach.
well, that's when they had to finish
Mhm.
up with the third one with little barbecue boy.
No, yeah.
To be like, oh, he was supposed to be here, and then it's just like a never-ending ripple effect that it's
a
always
butterfly effect, you would say.
Oh God.
The butterfly effect, yeah. And then Ashton Kutcher just walks by in the background.
Nosebleed and all.
Yeah,
Uh,
for fuck's sake.
Oh my
I
god.
think that's where they got me for like Stranger Things with the nosebleed shit. Like, can we just stop with the
Well, probably
nosebleed?
that was like a common sense of like paranormal use in the
hated
80s too.
Hated the
Like
costume.
scanners.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
scanners.
scanners.
Fucking hate the
Oh my
constant
God.
nosebleed shit. Pisses me off.
Yeah.
She has the best scanner story from when she was a kid.
Oh,
Tell them what happened.
All right. My dad, incredibly cool. One of my favorite people ever. My mom would never let me watch anything scary. My dad got scanners on VHS, brought it home. I think I was like 5. I was in kindergarten. We watched scanners and he's just like, this kid digs it. Like, let's just watch the whole thing, not thinking there's going to be that head explode scene, you know? So the precursor of someone being scanned is their nose is bleeding. I'm in kindergarten and we're playing some stupid game in the gym where we're like chasing each other around and my nose is bleeding, but I don't realize it because I'm a child. So I'm just like wiping my nose, like wiping my nose on my shirt. And I look down and there's blood everywhere. So I started screaming and running around like the whole gym, screaming, I'm being scanned. So my parents get called and my mom didn't work at the time. So she's like, what the fuck? And she's calling my dad. She's like, what did you show my kid? Like, what is this? And he's like, oh, this is hilarious. So like the school nurse is trying to talk me down. She's like, it's just a movie. It's fine. I'm like, no, this is what happens. My head's gonna explode. She's like, what the fuck did you watch? It was like inconsolable. It was so funny looking back on it.
Oh, kudos to that.
Oh,
It's funny how like movies can affect your life like this.
yeah.
You know, like as a child, as an adult, like I'm 40 years old. I still won't drive behind a log truck.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I know I'm not being scanned anymore, but like, you know, you get a nosebleed, it's a little unnerving.
You never really can be too safe.
That's another one they should never have made sequels to, is Scanners. Don't ever watch those.
I didn't know they made sequels. I've only ever seen the first one.
Oh my God.
I somehow fell down this rabbit hole. I think it was after I was watching Subspecies and found out that there's like 30,000 of those, even though I didn't really like the first one. I decided to watch all the sequels, and then I was like, oh, Scanners. And I'm like, oh, why are there so many? And then I fell down that rabbit hole with The Howling. I did the same thing. Like, why?
Oh my God.
I'm a completionist, so I'm like, I have to watch this, but like, it's terrible.
The
The
Howling.
corn movies.
Oh, they just get worse as they go.
Yes. Oh my God.
It's like we finished them for the sake of finishing, and they just got worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's what this franchise does. It just gets worse and worse. Like they get more like, they get like worse and worse, and the acting in it gets worse and worse.
You're not there for the acting, though.
Just like it kind of became like, you know, the skit from like making fun of like how the Gremlins 2 was made, of like what other
Yeah.
Gremlins can we come up with? Like what other dumb ways can people
It's a
die?
movie.
And it was just like the dumbest ways to die. Everything was possible, and it just
Mhm.
became kind of amazing.
And then
Yeah.
it became a show on Spike TV, like
Oh yeah.
100 Ways to Die.
Love that show.
That
Oh
is
my
true,
God.
yeah. It's
I
funny.
really
It's
think-
that it becomes funny.
I really think that show spawned from this, because like the Final Destination thing, people
Yeah.
were so into it.
Absolutely.
I think somebody was like, I think we can do some research and figure it out.
Tie it all
absolutely.
together.
Oh, we could absolutely open it up to like, well, what other ways could people die? And what other dumb things could we make people scared of?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll go around the room and have everyone talk about, like, you know, their final thoughts on the log kill, starting with Ray and Rayanne, and we'll see what she thinks of it, or her final thoughts.
My final thoughts are this has impacted my anxiety, just getting worse and worse as I get older. It definitely, you watch horror movies to get some kind of reaction out of it, and I feel like you don't really get that very often. And this definitely, just even watching it this morning, I was sweating and getting very worked up watching it. And that's exactly how I felt the first time I ever saw the scene. And I feel like that does not happen. Like you kind of watch things and get desensitized. So it's not like the perfect movie by any means. It's not the perfect sequence by any means, but it is intense, and I will forever appreciate it and be terrified of it.
All right, Dylan, your thoughts?
I mean, I think it was just a terribly wonderful movie. Like I remember it. It scares me to this day of that scene, and scares me to drive anywhere and what other people are capable of on the road and being more mindful. But it's had an impact on everything. It's had an impact on horror movies. It's had an impact on how I watch movies and how I look at other people. And it's horrific. It's like such a dumb and amazing movie. Like it's such a time capsule of the early 2000s, of the hair gel and the spikes and the music and the whole thing. And it's fucking terrible, and it's perfect.
Oh yeah.
And I love it.
Joey?
The thing I really love about this is the fact that it's at the very beginning of the movie. I love when movies do this, where they hit you in the mouth right from the beginning, because it in the ADD generation of people lose interest if you try to build up a story too much at the beginning without some type of action. It can really, like, people get distracted in this cell phone era and stuff like that. So I love that it was right at the beginning of the movie. It involves all the main characters. I think it's a great way to introduce everybody to the main characters of the movie. I think it did a great job in that. But also, it's like, you know, the anxiety and fear inducing it still has 20 years later to people. Like, you drive down the road and there's a log truck in the left lane and everybody's in the right lane, and nobody cares about going faster because nobody wants to be in that lane with it. So I think this movie did a great job with that. But I mean, just the fact that it was right there, right at the beginning, it really caught your attention and it made you pay attention to the movie because of all the subtle things in it. So I think that really set the tone for the movie. And I think that's what this scene really does. And it set the bar for all the final destination movies to have this scene right at the beginning, blah, 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 blah. And then you find out it never really happens, which is the best.
All right. I think for me, I agree. I think it is one of the greatest action sequences in a horror movie. Because it was definitely like a horrific action sequence, like, Michael Bay presents explosions kind of thing, which is wonderful. I think it definitely set a bar and it set a standard for the franchise, just as Joey said. But what I think it did, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I enjoyed the kill. I enjoyed seeing how everyone got killed. As much as I rag on it for like the little things of like the Aquafina bottle and all that stuff, I do find enjoyment out of all of that. It doesn't have to be good in order for me to enjoy it. It can be entertaining. It's highly entertaining, but I think it set the bar too high for the movie that it couldn't keep up with it. I think it peaked there and then slowly declined from the rest of it. But but no, it was fun as hell. It was such a great action sequence. Mm-hmm. And like, I might sound like a dick, but it was like a great show of like second unit directing from David, that the man really knows how to put together like a sequence like that and knows how to time it out and things like that. So I think like overall, it was definitely a great set of kills and multiple fucking chaos. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
well said.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode here. So, Ray and Joey, where can anyone find you on social medias if you want to share that? You don't have to if you don't want to. But...
Oh, sure. So we have our channel on YouTube, which is Rayanimator Reviews. It's also available in podcast form on iTunes via the Farsighted Network. I have Facebook, which is also Rayanimator Reviews, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, which I think is just Rayanimator.
You can find me on Kick for gaming under Repeat Viking, and Twitter and TikTok under Repeat Viking.
How about you?
In addition to Jerks Productions, I also run a horror-based bakery called 8213 Desserts.
You can find that on Instagram.
On Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
I forget that part. I'm like, yeah, that too.
Yeah. And all of our shit you can find via Jerks Productions under Jerks Productions, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're not on the TikToks. I don't understand it because I feel like a fucking elderly human on there. I don't understand it. But we're on YouTube as well with Jerks Productions. Everything's under that. So you can follow everyone that you just listened to there. Follow all of it for a bunch of really good content and a lot of fun. And we'll catch you guys next week with a new episode of Kill of the Week. How do I stop recording?
Oh,
there's a stop button.